It began with the small things. The late nights, the phone always hidden. He sighed, thinking.
I noticed the change long before I ever suspected betrayal. It started small. My wife began dressing differently for work. Not just new clothes, but a new style, one that seemed meant for someone else's eyes. Her phone, once a forgotten object on the kitchen counter, became an extension of her hand. It never left her side. I'd see her smile at messages, a private little glow that she refused to explain. When I'd ask what was so funny, she'd just wave it away, saying it was nothing, just a silly group chat from work. And when I'd gently push, telling her she seemed distant, she'd turn it back on me. "You're just imagining things," she'd say, her voice calm, reasonable. "You're being insecure." I wanted to believe her. I truly did. Trust is a stubborn thing. It fights for its own survival even when the evidence starts to mount against it. Late nights at the office became the new normal. What used to be a rare occurrence was now happening 2-3 times a week. "Big project," she'd explain, looking tired but accomplished. Then came the work trips, popping up with very little warning. A weekend conference here, a client meeting there. She told me she was finally feeling confident again, that her career was taking off and she felt alive. I supported her. I even praised her. I told her how proud I was that she was chasing her ambitions, and I was. But underneath the pride, a cold knot of unease was tightening in my gut. Something felt fundamentally off. The affection at home started to feel rehearsed. A quick kiss at the door that didn't quite land, a hug that felt more like a formality than a connection. When she'd come home late, she'd avoid my eyes, busying herself with putting away her things, talking about how stressful her day was. The more I tried to connect, the more she pulled away into this new, separate world of hers, so I stopped confronting her. I realized that arguments were getting me nowhere except more accusations of being paranoid. Instead, I started observing. It's amazing what you can learn when you just watch and listen. Silence can reveal so much more than shouting ever can. I became a quiet collector of details, the way her tone changed when a certain name was mentioned, the way she guarded her phone screen when I walked into the room. One evening, the universe handed me the truth on a silver platter. She fell asleep on the couch, exhausted from another late night at work. Her phone, for the first time in months, lay on the coffee table beside her, unlocked. I stared at it for a long time. I never planned to look. A part of me screamed not to respect her privacy, to hold on to that last shred of trust. But curiosity, that powerful, destructive force, won. My hand moved on its own. I picked it up. The messages were at the top of the screen. They weren't overtly explicit, but they were careful, intimate. They used code words and inside jokes. They spoke with the casual confidence of two people who believed they were completely untouchable, living in a secret world no one else could penetrate. My hands started to tremble as I scrolled, reading back weeks, then months. The timeline of her lies unfolded right there in glowing text. I felt sick to my stomach, a wave of nausea so intense I had to sit down. And then a strange, cold calm washed over me. I didn't wake her. I didn't scream or throw the phone against the wall, though every fiber of my being wanted to. In that moment of absolute clarity, I knew that a raw, emotional outburst would solve nothing. It would just give her an opening to twist the narrative, to play the victim, so I made a decision. I was going to learn everything first. I put the phone back exactly where I found it and went to bed. Over the next few weeks, I became a silent detective in my own home. I quietly documented everything. I took pictures of messages when she left her phone unattended. I noted the patterns of her late nights and sudden trips. I watched as her confidence grew into arrogance. She genuinely believed she was smarter than me, smarter than everyone. She thought she was flawlessly managing two separate lives. The moment of truth arrived in an unexpected way. She suggested, with a bright, enthusiastic smile, that we attend her company's annual celebration together. "It'll be fun," she said. "I want to show you off." The irony was so thick I could have choked on it. I agreed without a moment's hesitation, my voice even and supportive. That night she looked stunning. She wore a dress that I'd never seen before, and she moved through the room with a practiced grace, a queen in her court. But to me, she also looked distant, like a beautiful stranger. And then I saw him, the man from the messages. He was exactly as I'd pictured, charming, well-dressed, and radiating an air of self-importance. He came over to us, shook my hand firmly, and acted friendly, even respectful. "You must be so proud of her," he said to me. "She's a real star." I played my role perfectly. I smiled, I made small talk, I was the supportive husband. I waited. I knew the moment had to be right. Not for a scene, but for a resolution. Later in the evening, we were standing in a small group with some of her colleagues. The mood was light, people were laughing. That's when I saw my opening. I turned to the group and asked a seemingly innocent question. "I was just thinking," I said, my tone conversational, "how long do you think honesty really matters in a relationship?" A few people laughed awkwardly, unsure if it was a joke, but I saw my wife freeze. Her smile vanished. I didn't look at her. I just continued calmly, speaking to the group as if I were discussing a philosophical concept. I talked about the foundation of trust, how it's built over years and can be shattered in an instant. And then, still in that same measured voice, I shared the truth. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't use accusatory language, I just laid out the facts. The room went completely silent. You could have heard a pin drop. My wife's face turned a ghastly shade of pale. The man, her star colleague, took an involuntary step back, trying to physically distance himself from the conversation. I stopped him with words alone. I looked at him for the first time that night, really looked at him, and I revealed that I knew everything. The messages, the pet names, the planned trips, the lies. I saw the panic in his eyes as his carefully constructed world began to crumble. My wife reached for my arm, her touch frantic. "Don't do this here," she whispered, her voice shaking. I took a deliberate step back from her. That single, small movement seemed to hurt her more than any shouting ever could. I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out an envelope. I handed it to her quietly. It contained printed copies of their conversations. She didn't need to open it to understand what it was. Her knees buckled slightly, and for a second I thought she was going to fall. Someone nearby, a kind-faced woman from her HR department, rushed to get her a glass of water. Through it all, I remained calm. I looked at the stunned faces around us and said, "This isn't for revenge. This is for closure." I thanked them for their time and for witnessing the truth. And then I turned and walked out of the party, leaving the wreckage behind me. The cool night air felt lighter than it had in months. It felt clean,